everyone, and welcome to HOA Fight Club. I'm sorry for the continued silence, but with everything going on, it's been a little bit crazy in everybody's lives. I made a statement on my HOA and COA homeowners right page, and I'd like to kind of go over that and kind of explain everything that I put on there so that you understand what is going on in our country. I said that anyone that wants to know how the government is slowly taking our rights away can look at the Uniform Act. The Uniform Act is the Homeowners Associations Act that the senators came up with, the legislators came up with, to give laws for HOA condo owners. Now, in Washington state, the legislators are not and shall not make any law that is not fair and equal for all corporations. They have to follow under the same laws. But unfortunately, the legislators have written into the laws that there is no governance or accountability over an HOA or a condo association. So they've given them special privileges to fine and foreclose and do other things that hurt homeowners. So excuse me, before you do join any of these associations, you need to know that they are allowed to be above the law, above the Constitution, above everything. They shouldn't be, but they are, and it is unconstitutional to let neighbors fine neighbors. That is for the municipality to do, not for our neighborhood, due to the fact that if you allow those neighbors to fine neighbors, they can do it out of personal feelings, and if they don't like someone, they can really hurt somebody, and this is one of the biggest investments you'll make in your life. So you don't want to take that lightly. And I think that everybody just thinks that HOAs are there to improve our property value. And what we've proved is that they don't improve your property value. There's no evidence that an HOA improves or increases your value of your property. In fact, with my HOA, they decreased the value of my home. It was valued out at $62,000 by the time we were done figuring out all the damages that they had done. So the board is able to fine a homeowner with no evidence. So if you get a fine, they don't need any evidence, they don't need anything, just their word is good enough, which is really unconstitutional. Everybody deserves due process. And let's go over due process is them allowing you to be judged by an impartial tribunal. Well, the board, if they're making the accusations, they're not an impartial tribunal. So that also violates our constitutional rights. The board shouldn't be jury, judge, and executioner. I mean, that is just the way that the board can control everything, and they control every part of the association. There's no outside person that's going to come and say, no, that wasn't the way it was supposed to be. So there's no governance over these associations. The board can change the rules at any time with no vote of the people. That means they can make up whatever rule they want, and you have to follow it, or you can be fined and foreclosed on. That to me is really, really unfair. The vote of the people should be important. That would be like our government being able to change the laws at any time to suit their needs, which is exactly what the boards do. Also, the board can do a budget, then they can take that budget, and it is an approved budget unless you have 51% of the association. So out of my association, there was 130 homes, and they would put fines and foreclosures on them, and then they would do the 51% of the budget. You would need to change the budget or to deny the budget. And how many people can ever get 51% of the ownership to come to a meeting to deny a budget? It's almost impossible. They should have to have 51% to approve the budget, not deny it. Then there's the board can use proxies. Okay, let's go over proxies, because everybody always talks about how, well, you can vote out the board and you're in control and you vote. Well, our board just used proxies that were unverified. So they would you go into vote, everybody votes, and somehow the people would always lose and the board would always win. And the people in the room were actually all together on the vote. So it really made it strange that we couldn't get anything passed over the board. Well, we found that they were using proxies. Well, who verifies a proxy? You know, there's no signatures on these proxies. The homeowners don't get to see the proxies, only the board gets to see them, and then they get to destroy the votes. They get to destroy the proxies in Washington State, and according to my declaration, my CC&Rs, they could destroy the votes before anybody could verify them. So they were getting away with this for years and years and years. A board should never be able to use proxies unless they have been certified by a notary and given and mailed to a third party that doesn't have anything to do with the association, that can just verify those proxies. Because the property managers and the attorneys, they're on a contract. So they have a contract for a year, but their contract can be voided at any time with 30 days notice. So the property manager is not going to get on the board's bad side because they know that they'll lose that business in 30 days if they do. The board controls the property managers. Same thing with the attorneys. The attorneys don't have to follow the fair collection laws. So they can charge you whatever they want. They don't have to charge you a fair rate. They can just start charging your account and putting all this money if a board has an issue with you. So the board had an issue with me and they fined us without any evidence for smoking in our backyard. And the board spent over $26,000 trying to get us fined for that $50. Well, it cost me $15,000 because if they would have fined us, they would have come after our home if we didn't pay it. And then they would have just kept fining us and fining us each month. So the board was a rogue board that was out of control, and we need to have property managers and attorneys who are not being paid by a 5-member board and controlled by that 5-member board only. The attorney and the property manager should be neutral. They should be able to look at it and say, no, you're breaking the law. That doesn't work. But they've learned how to profit from our demise. And that is the goal of an HOA, condo association attorney and property manager. They do not care about the people. They will treat you poorly. They will say horrible things to you. They will call you names. They will do everything because they're held harmless in the state of Washington. Now, I do know that the state of Florida is starting to put their foot down and saying, no, this isn't going to happen anymore. So we need to make sure that we speak up to our legislators and have them change that law. So the fair collection laws also mean in an HOA, they're not a creditor and they're not a debtor. So you can't use them to say, you can't call me anymore. The fair collection laws just do not apply at all to you. So keep that in mind when you're complaining against these attorneys. I turn them in for ethics violations because they should be seeking improvement to the laws, not taking advantage of those laws for profit. So we want to make sure that we speak up because speaking up matters. Then, if a board assigns these fees to your account, they can demand them pay the payment due in 15 to 30 days. If you don't pay, within 45 days, they can put a lien on your home, and within 90 days, they can foreclose above your mortgage. So you will lose your home, the HOA will buy it back in a sheriff's sale, and then they will own it for like $2,000, and then they'll just hold on to it, rent it out, and let it go when the mortgage does finally come to foreclose. So you have no rights with non-judicial foreclosures. So make sure that you speak up to your legislators. Again, how are they giving the power to foreclose to an impartial tribunal, to attorneys that don't care about the Constitution? Those are what they're doing. So we need to have financial assistance. We need to have a government that says, yes, these guys are breaking the law. Here's an attorney that you can go to for a small amount. The homeowners take the burden of the attorneys on both sides. We had to pay the $500 an hour for the HOA attorney, and then we would have to pay for our own attorney to defend the association. We are the association, the members. So if the board isn't doing what the members want, they say you can recall the board. Well, that's not another easy task because they rely on the proxies that they have that aren't verified to make sure that you can never take over a board. We did a recall of the board once. It was a crazy night, but it did finally shake the association loose to the point where the board lost control of the homeowners. And in the long run, it still took about 4 years to get the board kind of back on track. But then as soon as a new board member comes in and sees the power that they have, they get really power hungry. So you've got to be really careful with those also. No one should be above the law. not a board, not a property manager, not an attorney, not a legislator, and we know not a police officer or a judge or anyone else. No one should be above the law. Our Attorney General in Washington State, Bob Ferguson, said that. No one's above the law. So why are they allowing these laws to be written that are unconstitutional? No law shall be passed. No law shall be passed. And when you go to look at that in the Washington Constitution, it says corporations formed. All laws relating to corporations may be altered, amended, repealed by the legislator at any time. All corporations doing business in this state may, as to such business, be regulated, limited, or restrained by law. So they have the power. The legislators have the power, and they're refusing to use that power because they have lobbyists like CAI that are coming in and paying them for those non-judicial foreclosure laws so that they can take your homes. CAI, Community Associations Institute, is made up of property managers, attorneys, builders, insurance companies, and everybody else who profits from the demise of a homeowner. Be careful. Make sure you learn what they are. Check out their website. You'll see it for yourself. CAIonline.org, I think it is. So check it out. Make sure you know what they're lobbying for, because they're lobbying your legislators and paying them off. And then you have no law shall be passed granting to any citizen, class of citizens, corporation, or other than municipal privileges or immunities, which upon the same terms shall not be equally belong to all citizens or corporations. So why are they allowing some corporations to be above the law and some aren't? You see it with the COVID. You see that anybody that is a big corporation has been allowed to be open. Yes, us small businesses aren't allowed to be open. And I did read on CAI's website that they're not taking any hit from this COVID. That means they're getting their association dues paid at the same percentage they were. I think they lost 1%. They are still making that profit because they know they can foreclose on your home if you don't pay. That the laws do not pertain to these corporations, these associations that should be under our laws, but that the legislators and the attorney generals and governors have allowed to be above the Constitution. You need to speak up. Speaking up matters. All right, I'll see you on the next one.